Aloha, welcome back. So today we're going to do a brief episode on bitters. And the reason is because I could spend a full hour on bitters. I'm really enthusiastic about them. And if you ever tasted a cocktail at a bar or a cocktail lounge and you can't quite get it to what you get there, but you have all the exact same ingredients at home, I bet you part of the factor is that the secret ingredient is bitters. Bitters were used during Prohibition and a very long time ago to flavor or taint the taste of really bad or poorly produced gin and other spirits. Probably the oldest is this Angostura. Everybody knows this little brown bottle with the yellow cap. Believe it or not, these two guys one time were like competing brands like Coke and Pepsi. And these two may have been relatives, and one of them may have stolen the recipe from the other, but there was a big legal dispute, and they pushed the Abbotts out of business. My friend Darcy O'Neill at Art of Drink goes into a whole big long thing about that, so I'm not going to belabor you with that point. But it is kind of interesting. Where you got to look for bitters if you don't want something like Angostura, you want something a little bit different, is you got to go to a specialty store. You'll probably find them in your finer liquor stores or wine stores, but there is another place in Manhattan called The Meadow, and they have like hundreds of them. I remember going in there one time, and I think I spent like well over $100, and I didn't even buy that many bottles. I think I only bought like 5 bottles. These get expensive. Even Angostura now is up to $10, $11. The other one you most commonly find is Peychaud's. This has got more of a licorice type taste to it. This is great in old fashions. But then when you get to your martinis and your brighter citrus drinks, you probably want to go with something like orange bitters. And again, this is a very old brand. As a matter of fact, the last surviving Fee brother passed away, I don't know if it was a year or two ago. People complain, they say this one is too clean tasting, almost artificial. I like that bright, clean taste. But if not, you could go with something like Gaz Regan's Orange. And if you've read the Smuggler's Cove Tiki cocktail book, they say to combine the two 50-50, and that's their house orange bitters. And the way you could tell is you just simply pour a little bit of club soda, and you put a few drops in there, and give it a taste. You could taste the orange. And you don't want to use a lot of this. I mean, a couple of drops extra above what you need can ruin the drink. These are highly concentrated. It should be that you can't quite put your finger on it, but you taste it. That's what you want to do. Now, if you go into one of these places that does have samplers, you could very easily just take a drop and put it on the back of your hand and give it a taste. Ooh, this is actually pretty good. This one's called Gypsy Tamarind Cocoa. Doesn't taste like any of that, but that's what happens when you mix all these herbs together. You can make your own at home. You buy a bottle of Everclear, which is basically as pure as you could get to alcohol that's still drinkable. I think it's like 160 or 170 proof. Don't quote me on that. It might even be illegal in certain states, because sometimes I see it on the shelf and then they say it's illegal and they bring it back a few years later. But what you want to do is you want to macerate all your most favorite flavor components. Maybe it's cinnamon, Old Spice, bay leaves, lemon rind. And in a few weeks, you shake it up, keep it in a dark place, you'll have your own bitters. I just find it easier to buy these. It's been perfected, and I just like a lot of the flavors that I found. Bolivar, for example, had a whole line of them, and you probably could have bought all these small bottles, like a whole sampler pack, for probably under $30. I don't remember. My favorite was the cherry bark vanilla. Typically a highball wouldn't get this, but I'll never forget the time I was at Dead Rabbit, which was a highly rated cocktail bar, and some guy comes in there and he says, "Yeah, I'm going to have one of those killer gin and tonics you made." And I'm thinking, you're in a craft cocktail bar, but you're getting a gin and tonic? Just basically just gin and tonic, maybe a slice of lemon or lime. But I was talking to the bartender and she said, "Well, We handcraft our own tonic. It's premium gin, not the middle of the shelf stuff. And we use these bitters. And it was their bitters at the time on Rinco. I don't know if you could still get them, but yeah, that's going to elevate your drink. And the same thing with these Bolivar bitters, because when I put a few drops of the cherry bark vanilla into my rum and coke, really gave it a nice, smooth, really creamy taste. Again, just a few drops. You may not believe it, but you got to taste it to try it. El Makule, which basically means old man in Hawaiian. Old man bitters, maybe because it's got an old-fashioned taste to it. And this could be one of the missing ingredients in tiki drinks. Another thing you might want to do, and a lot of people are doing this, especially in Manhattan, just saline. 4 parts salt to 1 part water. And just like you would salt your food to bring out the flavor, that's what you do with saline solution. They say they don't go bad after time, but they do have chemicals in there. If you don't close them tightly, some of the alcohol and the flavors will evaporate. The Angostura never seems to go bad because some of these people have had bottles in their bars for years and years and years. I don't think I've ever had a bottle longer than a few months because I use it all the time. And experiment with what you like. Start with the Angostura, work your way up. Again, these could get very expensive. $10, $11 may not seem like a lot of money, but you see the size of this bottle. For the same $10 or $20, you could get a full-size bottle of one of your favorite spirits. Maybe not the best one, but I've been through a lot of them. I can't say that I've tasted all the hundreds that were out there, but I've definitely tasted dozens. And sometimes I get a hold of a bottle and I love it, and then next time I go back for it, it's no longer there. So I did want to keep this brief because, again, I could go into this for hours. Like ice, I'm very enthusiastic about it. Last week, you might have noticed that it was a little blown out, and it wasn't because of the sun. I have the same lighting conditions. It's because I was using an Android. I prefer iPhones. This is the new iPhone. I'm excited to test it because I'm going on vacation at the end of the month, and I hadn't upgraded in a couple of years. So I'm really anxious to see what these new pieces of technology offer that you could easily slip into your pocket. It's very compact. You're going to have it with you anyway. I don't want to use my professional equipment because you don't want to draw attention to you if you're a tourist. You don't want to have to worry about packing it and going through customs or getting lost, broken, or stolen. So we're going to work on that after I figure out this new iPhone. Till then, mahalo and cheers.
Isn't happy hour any time?